Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Originally I was going to do a video where I would go back and play Battlefield 2042, but it wasn't until before I hit record where I realized that I don't even have the game downloaded and installed on my PS5. So I figured, you know what? Might as well do something different. So in honor of Throwback Thursday today, I figured it would be cool for me to be able to react to some classic titles, but also older types of technology that have come from PlayStation over the years. So this Twitter user, PlayStation Fanatic, basically what his Twitter is about is it's basically like a nostalgic Twitter account in which he shows off various titles that came from the PlayStation family, along with certain types of technology that have come from PlayStation over the years. I bought an ocean blue PlayStation 2. See, I'm not even gonna lie, man, I honestly miss seeing consoles look like this, because I remember back in the day where if you were to have like a PlayStation or an original Xbox console that had this type of design where you were able to see the inside of the console and you were able to see what kind of hardware it had, I honestly thought that was so freaking cool. And honestly, dude, I genuinely wish we still had something like this nowadays. But then again, like when you take a look at something like the PlayStation 5, I'm not sure how PlayStation would be able to design a console that would allow the individual to see the inner workings of the PS5. But in the case with this console here, the PlayStation 2, just looking at this, it looks so beautiful. I think I did acquire an ocean blue PlayStation 2 controller at one point when I bought it on Amazon, but that thing didn't even end up working well. It was so busted and shit, so it was a waste of money. Jak II, PlayStation 2, 2003. Look, I'm gonna keep it 1,000, okay? I do think that this game is fun to play, but at the same time, I also think that for me personally, it is one of the most challenging, most rage-inducing titles I have ever played. As a matter of fact, this game was so difficult for me to complete that this ended up becoming the first video game that I never even finished. Like, I never even finished. The farthest that I had made it was the final boss. That was the farthest that I made it. But then when I saw how difficult it was turning out to be, I gave up. I couldn't even continue playing the game any further because it was just making me so mad, especially with what I had to deal with prior to reaching the final boss. Like, this game, while it is a very fun title to enjoy, at the same time, it ended up becoming a video game that I just never ended up finishing because it was just so damn difficult and I could not stop raging. I mean, who knows? Maybe I might go back to it at some point, but for now, no sir, not at all. Video chat on the PlayStation 3 with the PSEye Camera. Jesus, man, do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember the PlayStation Eye Camera? Oh my god. So basically how this worked was if you had this hooked up to your PS3, you could start a new chat. You could pick whichever person you want to start a chat with, and once it started, then you engage in that video chat with that friend of yours. For me personally, I never really got a hold of a PlayStation Eye Camera, so I can't really relate to it, but I did end up getting a hold of like a PlayStation Bluetooth earpiece. Hold on, I'll try to find it. So this is what I'm talking about. This little thing was my first headset that I had. It was this little Bluetooth earpiece. This was what I was using to talk to my friends back on PS3. I didn't have like a Turtle Beach headset or anything like that like most of my friends had back in the day. This was my first ever headset. To be honest with you, I don't remember exactly how much this would go for. If I had to guess, probably 60 bucks. I don't know, man. I genuinely don't know. But what I do know is that this little thing, this was my first headset that I ever got, or I guess headset. But this was the very first one that I ever had, and this is what I was using to talk to my friends on PS3 back in the day. I will say this too, I do have a Turtle Beach headset. It's like sitting in my closet up there. I don't use it anymore because I decided to upgrade to a far better headset, which is why I ended up getting the Steel Series headset. This one right here is the Arctis One wireless, although I've never even had the chance to be able to use this thing wirelessly since I've spent the majority of my time using it wired. But seeing the PlayStation Eye camera here, oh my god, man, this is crazy. But hey, let me know in the comments down below if you even had one of these things back in the day, and if so, how was it? Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. Dude, every time I hear talk about this game, I'm always hearing about how this game is still stuck on the PlayStation 3 and it still has yet to even be preserved in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I think this game is being preserved because you are able to play this game on RPCS3, which is a PlayStation 3 emulator. I do know that you can preserve this title by playing this on the emulator, although it still has some technical issues that you will have to get around in order to really enjoy this game. But for the most part, from what I know, that's the only way in which a game like this can be preserved. And seeing as how so many people keep mentioning that in regards to this game, something tells me that this game was really, really good to the eyes of the casual player. I mean, obviously, like if you look at the reviews right here, it does interpret that this game is very, very good. But hey man, a guy's gotta wonder. Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, PlayStation 2 in 2004. This game I absolutely love. I love this game. I don't mean to exaggerate it, but again, this game I freaking love so much. I played this on PlayStation 2. I played this on the HD collection, and I'm even still playing it. Well, I wouldn't say I'm playing it to this day, but whenever I do decide to go back to my PlayStation 2, I will still play through this game like I did before. Take on fellow destruct files from across the nation, upgrade weapons to ridiculous levels of firepower, nuke enemies and friends alike in the single player and split screen multiplayer modes. Blast, whip, electrocute, or melt your way through amazing new galaxies. So lock and load and gather the troops. You've got some destroying to do. Wow. So from the looks of it, this was the very first Ratchet and Clank title to feature some form of multiplayer. There were some other titles later down the road that was able to have some form of multiplayer in it, but Up Your Arsenal ended up becoming the very first title to have some form of multiplayer in it. As a matter of fact, I think I came close to experiencing it when I was playing this game on the HD collection on the PlayStation 3, but I never really looked into it that much. But if any of y'all did experience multiplayer on this game back then, let me know how it was. Like, I really want to know what y'all thought. A Best Buy video game section in the fall of 2000. Bro, y'all remember when you used to go to like your local retail stores, whether it be Target, whether it be Walmart, Best Buy, hell, Kmart. Anytime you were to go by the electronics section, you would see that there would be like these game stations where you'd be able to play some demos of certain titles depending on the platform you decided to play on. Dude, I honestly miss those days. As a matter of fact, I think my local retailer, Target, I think they still allow people to be able to play demos of certain titles, but I think they only reserve that for the Nintendo Switch. But I do miss the days where I was able to go to my local Walmart, walk by the electronics aisle, see that there's like a PlayStation 2 game station that I could go to and just play some demos on there. What's the best PlayStation 5 game at this point in the console's life? If I had to pick one, I would say Baldur's Gate 3. I would say Baldur's Gate 3 has to be the best PlayStation 5 title we have gotten into the console's life so far. It's really hard to decide on one specific game because there's plenty of other titles within the PlayStation 5 library that are so damn good. There's even some in this photo as I speak, like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, the Dead Space remake, or Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Marvel Spider-Man 2. There's plenty of other titles that are in the PlayStation 5 library to where it's hard to just pick one specific title. It's very hard. But if I had to pick one, I would say Baldur's Gate 3. I would genuinely say that. And if not that, Elden Ring? Digital games or physical, which do you prefer? I'm going to try to keep it short and simple, but if I had to pick one, I would say I prefer physical titles over digital because for me personally, I'm very big on game preservation. I do believe that any video game title, whether if it's from the past or whether if it's in the present time, I do believe that these titles should be preserved for as long as humanly possible. And I think the best way to do so is to get physical copies of them, especially when you consider that we live in an economy where a lot of retail stores and brick and mortar places are starting to phase out the distribution of physical copies of DVDs, CDs, and even video games. I do believe that if you want to be able to preserve these titles for as long as humanly possible, you might as well just go and get a physical copy rather than purchasing it digitally. While I understand the convenience of downloading media digitally from the comfort of your own home, at the same time, you also have to keep in mind that at some point, the online services of a specific platform/device, it will shut down at some point, and because of that, there's pretty much no way that you're going to be able to preserve a title that you ended up purchasing with your hard-earned money. I said I was going to keep it short and simple, but here I am going on a freaking tangent. But if I had to pick one, I would say that I prefer physical games over digital games, mainly because I truly believe in preserving your video game collection for as long as humanly possible, because I don't want any video game that you acquire to get lost to time because of the fact that it's locked within a digital ecosystem. Midnight Club 2, PlayStation 2 in 2003. Do y'all remember a time where Rockstar was actually working on other video games that had nothing to do with Grand Theft Auto? Because I sure as hell remember, and Midnight Club was a prime example of that. This was the first Midnight Club title to include some form of online multiplayer, whether you were playing on Windows, original Xbox, or PlayStation 2. This was the first Midnight Club title in which you were actually able to play with other people, through an online connection for that matter. Okay, so this other Twitter user who goes by Obsolete Sony, he basically shows off various forms of technology that we've gotten from Sony and PlayStation over the years that probably people in this day and age have no recollection of. It only does everything. Here's a little fun fact that I don't think most people know about the OG PlayStation 3. I remember back in the day, there was a group of people who were in the military. They decided to take a large number. They decided to gather a large number of OG PS3 consoles. They tried to get them all connected together in some way, shape, or form to create some form of a supercomputer, which honestly, dude, I genuinely could not believe it when I heard it, but then when I saw a little bit of footage in regards to how it ended up turning out, I was so blown away by what they were able to achieve with a console like this one. The fact that they were able to set up a supercomputer based off of gathering so many of these consoles is just insane. The official photo of Sony's Linux Kit released for the PlayStation 2 in 2002. You're telling me there was a PlayStation 2 style keyboard and a mouse pad? See, I knew there was like this little adapter that you could use to connect an Ethernet cord into along with this desktop hard drive, but I didn't even know that there was like a Linux kit that you could use for the PS2 back then. Jeez. You learn something new every day, I guess. 10 years ago, we got the 20th anniversary PS4. Now I've got 4 months to brace myself and buy the inevitable 30th anniversary PS5. Honestly, dude, when I saw this PS4, I genuinely wanted to get my hands on it, but at the time I wasn't able to afford it, and on top of that, there was only a certain number of units that were available for people to get a hold of. So if you did get a hold of the 20th anniversary PS4, you're the man. But I do hope that we get something like this for the PlayStation 5, especially since from the looks of it, we're approaching 30 years of PlayStation. Sony made some questionable choices with the PS3, but thinking the controller was a good idea is beyond me. Could you imagine if we had this as the PS3 controller all along? I can, like, this controller honestly looks like it would be so uncomfortable to use in the palm of your hands. The Sony PSX, a combined digital video recorder and PlayStation 2, was launched in Japan on December in 2003. Dude, we already knew that the PlayStation 2 was revolutionary in its own right when it not only were you able to play your video games on the PS2, but you were also able to watch Blu-ray DVDs on that system. Like, it was already revolutionary enough as is, but the fact that we had something like this, where there were certain elements of a DVR incorporated into the PSX, and on top of that, the fact that you were still able to play video games on this thing, bro. It's even crazier when you realize that this released back in 2003. Sony was putting together pieces of technology that were way ahead of its time, if you ask me. Like, this is honestly some crazy shit. I think you could still get a hold of these things if they're even still available through preserving them in some way, shape, or form, but I'm willing to bet that if you were to get a hold of them, you are going to have to spend a pretty big penny in order to experience one for yourself, especially when they're only available in Japan and then you have to get them imported into whichever country you're living in and so forth. But damn, bro, I would have loved to have used the PSX just to see what other things you could do on this system, because man, this thing looked like it was way ahead of its time. But that, ladies and gentlemen, was me reacting to a variety of PlayStation titles that we got to experience back in the day, while also reacting to various forms of technology that we've gotten from PlayStation over the years. I'll provide a link to the Twitter accounts of Obsolete Sony and PlayStation Fanatic down in the description so you guys can go and give them a follow. I truly think you guys will learn so much more about what we got from Sony and PlayStation that probably people in this day and age know little to nothing about. Or if you just want a dose of nostalgia, these Twitter accounts will definitely supply you with that. But I do want to know from you guys, do you still own any of the video games that were shown in this video, or do you still own any of the consoles that were showcased in this video as well? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to know what you guys have to say. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, you're more than welcome to drop a like on it. And if you enjoyed this type of content, you're more than welcome to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. And if you happen to be watching this on Rumble, you're more than welcome to do the same as well. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy Discreet, and I'll catch you in the next video.